What does commitment to inclusivity and equity look like?
It's not just talking about it. I mean, that's the whole point. If you think that, all we're going to do is talk, you got to have you have to be in relationship with people is what I'm saying. It's like we want to do something and you're not in relationship with these people. I think people want to connect with particularly if it's dominant culture, want to connect with people around the idea of um, like uh, the word that I'm looking for is like paternalistic. They want to connect in a way that's about them not having something. So we want to give them discounts, or we want to make sure that we take food stamps and things like that. And we marginalize the identity into a place of poverty. So every Black person, brown person, dark skinned person that you see, you think is a person that's suffering with poverty. And the only way that they're going to want to shop in your grocery store is if somehow you give them a discount. But discounts have to be underwritten. And discounts is not what everyone is looking for. People are looking for great food. And so you haven't made the case that you're the best place to bring anything, let alone my food stamps. So you're not in dialogue with people. You're just simply handing out charity, as a way to make yourself feel better. And that is not a relationship. You can't build a relationship like that. I mean, it looks like ownership. Are people, signing up and becoming owners and investing? It looks like people running for your board that are representative of your community and other communities. A lot of people will tell me very quickly that, their community is all white and middle class. And I'm like, you are lying, because all white people are not middle class. Being honest and saying that, if you don't even have differences among yourself, people who are single parents, people who are LGBTQIA, people who are trans and non-binary are not represented, in your staff patterns, in your leadership, on your board, on your governance. This is about sharing power. This isn't just about, some surface kind of, cookout, or what do you call those things? Potlucks, where we're all going to bring a dish and just share food and sing Kumbaya. This isn't really about that. This is about sharing power. And so the way to know that you're making a difference is that you can look in your organization and see the difference.
Do changes to the language matter? Are our 7 cooperative principles enough?
One thing that I learned through some of the research that I did was that the last time the cooperative principles were revised, it didn't happen in 2 years or 3 years. It took 15 years of deliberate, conversation around the world. And so as cooperators, I think we're going to have to broaden our horizons a little bit. And, basically how many cooperatives in the United States are in communication with cooperatives on the continent of Africa or in Australia or with indigenous folks, even just indigenous people in the United States and in Hawaii. Are we in communication and in dialogue with cooperators in South America or in Canada for that matter? So it's not just talking, it's building relationships. And that's what cooperatives are really about. We have these models that say we do things together because it's too big for one person to do. This is too big of a job for one country to do. It's too big of a conversation to not try to include everybody. So if we want to lift this up, we have to lift it up in an international kind of way. It can't just be driven by the construct of folks in the United States that have, finally found some integrity around racism. And now they want everybody to jump on board and tell them what to do. That's just not how it's going to work. It doesn't work like that. I can think of so many examples. It's just really, it's astounding that we don't feel like dialogue is a something. It is. It's a huge conversation. But if you're talking into the echo chamber, and you're just listening to each other and you're not stretching your own boundaries around who you're talking to about this and how you're talking about it, if you're not growing in terms of your own conversations around race and inequity, then, you got a lot of work to do. And that's not talking. That's personal work that you have to do on yourself. I would say just keep studying, keep working on this. This isn't a thing that you're going to get to the end of. And if you get frustrated, that's fine. Keep going. and get help where you need help. It's like everything else, when you're trying to build your grocery store or whenever that was built, you just didn't decide to walk out one day and, start digging in somebody's front yard talking about you building a grocery store. You planned for that. You raised money for that. You organized people for that. You got other people's support to do that. And it took years and years to probably open that first store. But not one of those things came to fruition without a plan and serious execution. But then once the stores were open, once you had the stores, you weren't like, okay, that's the end of we're done with the grocery stuff, on to housing, or whatever the case may be. You had to learn how to run a grocery store. And then once you started running the grocery store, you don't get to the end of running a grocery store. You don't get to the end of being a cooperative. This is work that requires a plan, it requires execution, and it requires work over a period of time. So if you all are still getting tired of talking, then you already have shot yourself in the foot, because you have so much more work to do and so many more conversations to have that you can't possibly imagine that you're going to stop talking to people. You're going to have these conversations with the goal of changing the world that we live in to be a more equitable, inclusive, dynamic, joyful world. And that's what we all want.